I replaced my gaming PC with an almost 9-year-old iMac that wasn't even high-end when it was new, and I have zero regrets. Before you call me crazy, hear me out, you might end up doing the same. No, seriously. And of course, the iMac runs Linux. And of course, I play games on it. So I'm playing games made for Windows on Linux installed on an Apple computer. If that's not inclusion, then I don't know what it is. In this video, I will tell you about my motivation behind the switch, how well the iMac performed in my day-to-day tasks, and what I had to do to get Linux running on it. The reason behind the switch is quite simple. My gaming PC was mainly collecting dust because I do most of my gaming on my Steam Deck or on one of my retro gaming consoles. All I'm doing on my PC these days is watching YouTube videos, syncing my iPod, or editing spreadsheets. For some weird reason, I'm playing more games on the iMac than I was playing on the gaming PC. Maybe out of curiosity to see how the games run, or I'm just a sick bastard, who knows. Before I talk about the specs and my experience with it so far, I would like to explain how I came up with the idea of buying an iMac in the first place. TLDR, I hate cables and clutter. I moved a couple of months ago, and since there was not enough space in the new place for my old working and gaming corner, I inherited the old desk from my wife that she doesn't need anymore. And the cable management on this table sucks. It has a net underneath that I installed for my wife years ago, and with all of the cables inside, it hangs like you know what. Unfortunately, I took no pictures before, so I will draw it for you. Since I have the iMac, I got rid of almost all of the cables. It's even plugged directly into the wall and I don't need a power strip anymore. I just kept the speakers because the built-in speakers sound awesome on macOS, but they do suck on Linux for some reason. So I decided to keep the speakers. My desk finally looks clean again and I can finally feel good about myself. Now with that out the way, let me tell you about the specs of this beautiful iMac. It has a 7th generation Intel Core i5, 16 gigs of RAM, a 500 gigs NVMe and a tiny Polaris GPU. To be precise, an AMD Radeon Pro 555 with 2 gigs of VRAM. I paid €175 for it, which I think is a very good price for what it offers. The operating system of my choice was Fedora with the GNOME desktop environment, and it fits the iMac perfectly. The Fedora installation was just like on any other PC, and everything worked except for the internal speakers and the sleep mode. I was able to get the speakers working very easily with a driver from GitHub, but they don't sound as good under Linux as they do under macOS. I briefly googled the sleep function not working, but since I never use sleep on my desktops anyway, I didn't feel like pursuing it further. During day-to-day tasks, it feels surprisingly snappy. There's no noticeable difference compared to my faster machines like my gaming PC or my M2 MacBook Air. I'm sure if I did some browser speed benchmarks or something like that, my other machines would crush the iMac, but subjectively, I do not notice any meaningful difference. What I can say though is how amazingly good the screen of this thing looks. It's a 21.5-inch 4K display with awesome colors. Basically, it looks like a modern phone screen. No matter how closely you look, you can't see any pixel with the naked eye. Honestly, I would take this picture quality any day over the speed of my old 144 IPS LG monitor, which had washed out colors and terrible IPS bleed. As I already told you, of course I tried a couple of games on it, and all of the PS3 era games run very well on it. Even some newer lighter titles can be played. The limiting factor is definitely the 2 gigs of VRAM, and of course it's not really able to run any game at the native 4K resolution. But 1080p with pixel perfect integer scaling looks still awesome and crisp on the small screen. There's barely any pixelation noticeable. The most shocking thing was how quiet it is. At first I thought the span was not spinning, but after checking the temperatures in games, which were quite low by the way, I remember Intel Macs as very hot and loud machines and I expected this iMac to be no different. But this was definitely a welcome surprise. There's one downside though that I have to talk about. Probably Apple thought in their endless wisdom that people love spending money and throwing perfectly working hardware into the landfill, and therefore there is no display input on this thing. Since I work mostly from home, I need a second monitor for my company notebook. Luckily I was able to bypass this restriction with a 4K capture card. While the capture card adds too much latency for gaming, using it for writing code and checking emails is totally fine. I just love using this thing because it's a quite quirky little machine that not only looks awesome, but also performs very well in day-to-day tasks, lightweight gaming and video editing. And now that we have reached the end of the video, I would like to hear your opinion about all of this. Do you think I'm crazy for replacing my gaming PC with an old iMac? Have you done something similar? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.